everyone. So, good morning. Good Wednesday morning. Facebookers, YouTube, make sure that you speak. I saw this every time because you may or may not know that if you do not speak when you come in the room, I will not know that you are here. What's up, TikTokers? Good morning, Steve. How are you? Hello, Wendy, Misty, Katrina, and Terrence. Good to see you all. What's up, Alex? Nice to see you. Hey, Gemini. What's up? Hello, hello. What's up, Farah? How is everybody? Y'all good? I know that it's a lot going on in the political world today. I know that we could be talking about tariffs and all kinds of things. I saw the thing that Alex Jones just announced and all of that. What's up, Pilar? But I want to talk healthcare today, and then I'll kind of tell you why I'm talking healthcare, why it's relevant to you, and all the things. Yeah, Steve, I can relate to that. He's doing okay. He's better than he was, but not great. Tammy Anderson, I have not forgotten you. Hey, Diva Deb. Hey, Masani. Mila, as you can hear back there, is starting to cough and have the runny nose, and so I think she's gotten some of her brother's germs. What's up, Blue Nevada? Let me know if you got your package yet or not, because you should. And I just forgot to give you tracking numbers. So sorry about that. What's up, Luck Shaz? So good to see everybody. Again, if you are YouTube, if you are Facebook, I should have done this and I did not. I'm going to do it now. We'll just see if that helps. All right. So for those of you guys who are on TikTok, you may or you may not know this about me, that I was heavily involved in a protest against a state-sanctioned medical monopoly. I'll kind of explain what that means. What's up, Angie? Hey, Casey Rich, and why it's relevant to you. But I'm also going to give you some actual tangible information that will help you stay on top of what's happening with your healthcare providers, with your hospitals in your local community. So I just kind of want to give you guys some information that might be helpful, right? Something that maybe is not politically something that is not politically driven, but still is politically impacted, still has to do with politicians, and just as importantly, has to do with your overall health and well-being. Okay. So, sis, I need you to sit right over here for me, please. Okay, thanks. All right. So, what's up, Zon? Hey, everybody. All right. So, again, YouTube, Facebook, if you are here, I need you to say hi in the comments, or else I won't know that you're here and I won't be able to see you. What's up, Mary Shaw? Good to see you. All right. So, hey, Linda, good to see you as well. So, what's up, 2409? All right. So, folks, one of the reasons why I want to talk about this is because in the state that we are in, a lot of people are like, so what can we do about all of the things that are happening? What's up, Sharita? And the truth of the matter is, we can get ready to vote in special elections. We can get ready to organize, be talking to the people that are in our circles of influence. We can be contacting our legislators. We can be doing all of those things. And other than that, right, those are the things that you can do to be making an impact, right? So we're protesting, we're due all of those things. I can tell you right now, Haley, that it will. That's my honest opinion, is that if there are significant cuts to Medicaid, it will have a resounding impact on hospitals. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about today. If you aren't familiar with the 340B pricing program that hospitals in certain communities that serve kind of economically disadvantaged individuals. If you're not familiar with that program, I'm going to talk a little bit about it and what the impact of it and hospitals not having it and so forth and so on. So some of this information is going to be very specific, and it's going to be about Ballad Health, which is the state-sanctioned created medical monopoly back home in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. Some of this information, hey, Kaylee, hey, Mel Gray, is going to be what can you do to find out about your hospital system's performance, your nursing home center's performance? What do you need to be concerned about in terms of how they are doing? So a couple of things that I just want to start off by saying is that some of you all, as I get into this, are going to say, well, can you check out my hospital? And my answer to you is yes. I will definitely look up some of you all's information for you and show you and demonstrate while we're here on this live. The other thing is that I'm going to ask is that you be patient with me. Let me get through the information that I have, and then let me look up your hospitals in particular. Okay. What's up? Leave me nice. Hey, Alice, good morning. So hopefully that's fair to everybody. And if I look like I'm sitting a little different, which YouTube and Facebook, you can see I'm sitting on the floor. So today is one of those days where my back and my hips is hurting a little bit more than usual. I can't get comfortable. So your girl is sitting on the floor with her laptop on a box and TikTok up here, because, sometimes sometimes we just have to do what we got to do. So good morning, Beverly. Hey, St. Bart. All right. So good morning, Jerry Frost. Good to see you. Okay. So I want to kind of backtrack for a second. And when I say state sanctioned medical monopoly, when I refer to ballot health, or when I say the words COPA or certificate of public advantage, there's many people who are not going to know what in the world I'm talking about. And it's one of these mechanisms that I wish that more people were aware of, because it can be detrimental to your health care in your region. What's up, Brandy? Hey, Blue Honey Pot. What's up, Zulia J? And so here's what I mean by that. We are not the first place that's had a COPA put in. What's up, Neuro Mama? We are the largest COPA to ever be granted in the United States of America. What's up, Cheryl? So there have been other places. We've had COPAs in Montana. We've had COPAs in Asheville, North Carolina at Mission Hospital, which people have heard a lot about, but a lot of people don't know exactly what a thanks, Alex. Good to see you. People don't really know. What's up, Lisa K? Exactly what a COPA is. And I'm just going to give you like the high level version of it. Okay. So a certificate of public advantage is a mechanism that your state can use. What's up, Robert McKinney? That your state can use, that your state legislators can use to create legal medical monopolies in your state. And they can use those laws to not only create legal medical monopolies, giving them hugely large market shares and the majority of the market, but they can also, like they did in the state of Tennessee and the Commonwealth of Virginia, they can also give them immunity from state action immunity or federal immunity from like antitrust laws. And these things are really important. I've done a couple of podcast episodes about this. I've talked a lot about it. I've written things on my Substack and my medium.com about it. So there's a lot of information out there to explain to you how this process goes. But the reality is this. What's up, Jen? It's been a minute. Hey, Yobi. So let me just share this. So here's kind of the way that it works. You can have a healthcare system. Hold on one moment. Okay. Dom, I need you to be gracious right now while I'm working, please. All right. So let me kind of give you all the way that this works, right? You've missed the, well, they weren't tents, Alex. We had canopies out there, and then we tarped them up when it got cold. Work has been doing its thing. Life has been doing its thing. What's up, Amanda? So let me back up. So the majority of the states in our country have something called the Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993, which is a piece of legislation. Isn't it funny how most of the things that we are truly concerned about end up coming back to politics? Politics has never been something that I've been like, ooh, I just want to get into politics. I never cared about it. I didn't want to know about it. I really thought, you know what, that's a game that they play and whatever. And I just kind of like let it go until it became something when I realized the things that I was passionate about, the things that I really cared about, the things that were impacting my life, my family's life, the people around me, and all of our lives, it ended up almost inevitably always coming back to politics. It almost always came back to some legislator and usually some corporation, some really rich folks that have decided they wanted to find another way to make lots of money. That's typically what it has always come back to. Carol, I just went live, so no worries. So when we talk about this, what I want to share with you is there's something called the Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993. You could look it up. Your state probably has this piece of legislation on the books. And in and of itself, this piece of legislation is really a good thing for you. What this piece of legislation says is, listen, if you have hospitals in your region and those hospitals are having trouble operating profitably, right? Because maybe they have a high number of folks that are on, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE. They have a lot of lower income patients, right? The purpose of the Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993 is to let these hospitals cooperate. It just says, listen, we can work together. We can share equipment. So maybe you don't have to buy a $500,000 MRI. Maybe, we have one and we can let you use it. Or maybe you don't have to, appreciate you, Jen, for the money gun. You don't have to hire another cardiac specialist. We already have one, and you can use them too. right? You can share equipment, you could share staff, you could do things to reduce cost amongst your hospitals and provide good quality care to the people in the community. And I don't know about you, but that sounds really great, right? That sounds like a winning piece of legislation. And just like many pieces of legislation, I believe that the intent was something really good, right? But what happens when greedy corporations and spineless politicians get involved in services like healthcare, like education, like all of those things? Meaningful legislation that was meant to do good can oftentimes be manipulated to do really horrible things, right? And so here's what I mean by that. All right. So it doesn't matter, Alex, whether there were shrubs there or not. I have no intention to come back and post up outside of Holston Valley Medical Center. Listen, I existed on a public right of way for 257 days. I have no desire to do that to my life again. So whether they spent the money to plant shrubs or not, I have no interest in giving up 10 months of my life and sitting outside of a hospital again. Like that's just not in the works for me. So it doesn't matter whether they planted shrubs or not. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of explain this. So let me just share with you specifically what happened in Northeast Tennessee and the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is Southwest Virginia. All right. So in this region, here's what happened. We happened to have a group of individuals. We had two healthcare systems. Now, here's the other thing that makes what happened where we are different. We had healthcare systems, not just hospitals. Okay. So these two healthcare systems, Mountain States Health Alliance and Wellmont Health System, we're going to merge. Now, let me also say this. There's a lot that I could tell you about the backstory of how this came to be. I could tell you that the things that they told the public isn't accurate. I can tell you that Wellmont Health System was not in financial difficulty. As a matter of fact, they had worked really hard and been very successful at reducing their debt. They had already switched over to the Epic system and had a state-of-the-art patient information system. Wellmont was not in trouble. But the story that they told everyone was that, listen, your local hospitals that have always been locally controlled are in financial difficulty. And if you want to save them, if you want to protect them from the outsiders coming in and ruining them, then we've got to merge. We've got to make this thing happen. So that's the story that was told. Now, I want you to just identify the commonality that you hear in that verbiage and what we hear politically right now. What do we hear all the time in the United States of America right now? We need to be protected from the outsiders. Immigrants, right? Anybody that's coming from the outside and we want to make money on the inside, we demonize. Do we not? This is the same tactic that is being used across politics and corporations across the board in this country. You will make a country or a person or a group of people the enemy if they are from outside. And the reality is the snake is already in the grass. The snake is at home. That's what they did to get this medical monopoly done. That's what they've done to get the election the way that it is. That's what they've done to get people to vote against things that are actually going to harm them. And we can see that. We can see where we are right now with the tariffs, which what's happening to the stock market, which what's happening to, we can just see it all the way across the board, right? If in fact the Federal Department of Education does get rid of half of their employees today, we absolutely understand right now that it was not it wasn't the lefty crazy Dems that were going to do the most harm, and that we're trying to indoctrinate people. It's the snake already inside. Right. The call is coming from inside the house. But that's the story that they used. And so one of the things that I would love to impart to you right now is to pay attention and to notice the verbiage that you hear coming from your legislators. Notice the verbiage that you hear coming from your local corporations. If the only way that they can get you to buy in to what they are selling you is to make you scared of someone else, if the only way that they can get you on board is to scare you into it, you might want to be cautious. You might want to ask some questions, because fear should never be the motivator for something good. Right. And I've told you this before. I grew up in the South. I grew up neck deep in church. Right. And I don't think in any point ever in all of the things that I learned about Jesus Christ did he have to say to people, I'm gonna beat you or whatever if you don't follow me. I don't even think that Jesus was the one that preached gloom and doom and hell and fury. I'm pretty sure that wasn't Jesus. We hear that in other places in the Bible, but that wasn't Jesus's message. So to win over the people that Jesus went over, he didn't have to use fear. And we shouldn't either. So whenever someone is trying to bully you or make you fearful of something in order to get you to buy in to what they are saying and selling, ask questions. Be doubtful. Be cautiously suspicious, because you have the right to be. Okay. So that would be number one. But that's how they propose this thing. And so the way that they got it done where I'm from is real simple. They got a piece of legislation and they pretty much did it up for the politicians. You all know that this is a thing that happens, right? You can for right now. I'm going to need it back though. So let me just share this. What's up, Amy girl? So this is the thing that happens when we talk about teeing things up for politicians. We've talked about ALEC. How many of you guys remember me talking about the business of ALEC, the organization ALEC, ALEC, ALEC? How many of you guys remember me talking about this company, this organization, if you will? Okay, so it is the American Legislative Council, right? Executive Council, American Legislative Executive Council. These folks make it really, really easy for your politicians to introduce legislation that they want passed, that the corporations who belong to their organization want passed. Okay, what do? They simply write up the bills for your legislators. They leave it blank for people to fill in the blank for the state, right? And they make it very easy for them. So following that same template, right? Following that same template is what they did to get this COPA passed, right? And the reason why I say that, let me not say that these corporations wrote the bill for them. I won't say that. What I will say is this. What I will say is this. Based on what I've seen from the senator who sponsored the legislation, which would be Senator Rusty Crowe, what I've seen and heard from those individuals like Matthew Hill and Timothy Hill and Bud Halsey and oh my God, John Lundberg and all of them, right? Here's what I would say about those people. From what I've seen, the only thing that I have seen them be able to do is regurgitate the information being put out by the healthcare system. I've never seen them be able to have an intellectual conversation and a fact-based conversation on their own that demonstrates the ability to appropriately write and represent this legislation on their own. And it's apparent if you go back and watch the videos of Rusty Crowe talking about this piece of legislation, it is obvious he knows absolutely nothing about what he's talking about. And Gary Hicks as well, right? And screw Tim Hicks too. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you, user 5077, right? So let me just keep going about this. All right, so they got this piece of legislation done, and here's what they did. They took that existing Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993 and they changed it. And they modified it to say this, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it and give it to you. You ready? Ignore the trolls, folks. Unless they are contributing to this conversation, ignore them. I literally have zero time. I want to give people information today that is meaningful to you, that you can use to protect your families, to make sure that you get good health care, that you go to facilities that you should go to for the things you want done, that you know how to find out what your patient rights are, that you know where to go and look up this information. You can go and look up and see who your nonprofit hospitals are and how much they are paying their executives. I want to give information to you today that is beneficial to you. and your loved ones and your friends. I'm not interested in trolls today. They can say whatever they want to say. I literally could give zero fucks about Trump and Elon Musk today. I just don't care. I don't care because there's enough people talking about them, and we're not talking about what's happening to people. That's what we're not talking about. And as things change with Medicaid, as things change with, they will never have a standalone hospital, user 5077. And the reason Holston Medical Group cannot have a freestanding hospital is because the state of Tennessee has a law that says hospitals cannot be owned by physicians. And Holston Medical Group, HMG, is a physician owned organization. So HMG is never going to have a hospital. They do have their freestanding surgery center, right? They do have that. They do their best to prevent inpatient facilities, the necessity of them, but that's all they can do. So HMG is not going to have a hospital. And I've been saying this now for 6 years. Okay. So what can you do? It's become informed and mindful. Okay. So here's what they did with our piece of legislation. That piece of legislation was changed to say this. It said not only could these healthcare systems cooperate, but that they could merge, that they could become one entity, okay? And not only could they become one entity, but that the state would give them immunity from antitrust law on a state and federal level in exchange for state oversight, because that's the state law, Meggers. That's the state law. That's the law in many states. In many states, doctors can't own hospitals. And to be quite frank, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the danger there is in the governance of the hospital and things being done from a financial perspective, right? So that's why. I think it's great personally to have doctors on the boards of hospitals, right? But I don't know that you would want physician-owned hospitals. But that's the state law. So let me go back and kind of keep going. So what they did was they said, listen, in exchange for state oversight, we'll let you be a medical monopoly. We'll give you antitrust immunity on a state and federal level. Now that's in theory. You only have the immunity once it's tested in a court of law. The reason why that is different, no, Haley, it probably wouldn't. So this is what I want to talk about a couple of different things. So 340B is different, and it exists whether you have a COPA or you don't. The Hospital Cooperation Act is not something that your hospital would have. It's something that your state law has passed. So you can literally look up states that have the Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993, and it will tell you a whole list of states that do. There are many states that have that law on the books, whether or not it's being utilized by healthcare systems or hospitals or not. But the question becomes, when do you have this law modified like they did in North Carolina, like they did in Tennessee, like they did in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and you have a COPA granted, which is what they did to Mission Hospital in Asheville, right? Which once they realized what a mess that was, the state legislature undid that. The problem with undoing it the way that it was undone is there was no real protective measures in place for staff, for patients, for whatever. But so the situation that I'm talking about is the result of a COPA. But there's lots of other reasons that hospitals are giving lower care, lower quality of care. Let me say that. Okay. And we can talk about understaffing, which a lot of hospitals will talk about that. I do think that I think that when you talk about being understaffed, the first question you have to ask is, what's the cause of that? What's the root cause of hospitals and healthcare systems being understaffed? Is it a healthcare system issue? Do you have sucky administrators? Do you pay your C-suite executive levels a ridiculous amount of money while underpaying your nurses, while underpaying your techs, while underpaying your janitors, while underpaying your food service staff? Is that a reason that you're understaffed? Is because you're paying everybody in suits the most amount of money, but you're not paying anyone else what they should be getting? Is that an issue, right? What we know is that the growth of administrators in a hospital compared to actual medical personnel is greatly disproportioned. When I did a podcast episode about a month or so ago with a doctor out of Kentucky, and she and I discussed this very thing, how lopsided we have. And what we've seen is we've seen this growth in administrators in hospitals go like this, while growth in staffing is like this. And so they're kind of going like this with the bulk of the money going here. Right. So when we talk about medical staffing issues, you might want to assess as to why that's a thing. Now, for those of you all who hear about nonprofit hospitals, everybody thinks for profit hospitals are the problem. And do not get me wrong, they are. And we need to get away from this thought process that nonprofit entities are great. It used to be, oh, you're a nonprofit. That's amazing. I want to give you money. Okay, let me just be clear. There are nonprofits today making ridiculous, insane amounts of money, like hospitals, like churches, and they're not paying taxes, but yet they are politically involved. They are politically aligned. They are lobbying your legislature, right? And they are paying their administration folks a ton of money. So get it clear that it is not just for-profit hospitals that are a problem. It is definitely nonprofit hospitals. Now, do you want to know what a great thing is? How many of you all know what a Form 990 is? This is where I'm going to give you some information where you can be informed about your local area. You want to start getting people to vote the right way? Get some information that is local, that matters to people. So let me share this with you. A Form 990 is what nonprofits file for their tax returns. Now, how many of you all are familiar with GuideStar or with ProPublica's Nonprofit Explorer? How many of you guys are familiar with those two things or have ever utilized them? What's up, Received Grace? Anybody? You familiar with them? Ever utilized them? Mel Gray has. Anybody else used GuideStar or ProPublica's nonprofit search tool? Appreciate you guys for hitting the goal. Anybody? Nope. It is your friend. So I want to share, I'm going to show you something, okay? Because what I'm going to do, so a Form 990 is, if you look up, just do Form 990 ProPublica, and the search result will come up for you to use their search tool. Now, TikTok, I'm going to bring you into my hands in a minute as soon as I share this on YouTube and Facebook so that you can see what I'm showing them, okay? So give me 1 second. So remember that I said, yeah, baby, you need something or are you good? Okay. Remember when I said that the entity back home for me was the result of a merger? It really wasn't a merger, but I'm just going to use, yes. So when I talk about the Form 990, that applies to all states. When I talk about the Form 990 and the Nonprofit Explorer, that applies to all states. Okay. Now, Ballad Health became the parent organization as a result of the merger between Mountain States and Wellmont. Yes, babe. Of course. And here's the thing. You would think that because Ballad Health is now, like, they supposedly became one entity, that would be where you would need to look for their Form 990. But these suckers are slippery. And I'll tell you why. When you go to look up the information for Ballad Health, you actually have to look up 3 different tax returns. You have to look up the Form 990 for Ballad Health, which is only $72 million worth of revenue. Then you also have to look up the Form 990s for Mountain States Health Alliance and the Mountain States and the Form 990 for Wellmont Health Systems. They keep it for all 3 entities. So when you're trying to track and see where the money's coming from, where the money's going to, it gets very confusing. This is why my personal opinion is that there needs to be an investigative organization out there that hires a forensic accountant to be able to track the money. That's just my personal opinion, because it is very hard for a lay person to do. And it would be very difficult to do if you weren't an organization that also had legal power behind you to get the information that you need. Okay. But just as an overview, I just want to show you a couple of things when it comes to this Form 990. So I have got, of course, Ballad Health Form 990, all three of them pulled up. So I'm going to share them over here. Maybe. Hold on one second. I need to pull this. And let me do it right here. Sorry, guys. Give me one sec. There. All right. So for you guys on TikTok, I'm going to take this background down and then I'm going to turn it around. Let me reset this goal for you guys. Thank you all, by the way, for hitting the goal. It was left up from yesterday or the day before, whenever I went live last. I hadn't even put up a new goal for today, but I do appreciate it. No, I don't want a money gun as my thing. TikTok want me to go for big TikTok said, ask for money guns. No, how about I don't? They love to do that because TikTok loves big gifts, because all of that. And I'll tell you something I found out the other day is that if I'm on someone else's live and you gift me, but I don't go live on my own live, TikTok isn't paying out anymore. So like if you gift me on somebody else's live, but I don't also meet the scales of my own live, then TikTok doesn't necessarily pay out. Like it's scaled now. It's scaled. I have to go live on my page. Now, once I do go live on my page, then they'll give me the other stuff from somebody else's deal. So anyway, interesting times, but it's okay. So am I sharing this? Okay, great. You guys can see me over here. So I'm going to show you guys this. As long as I end up going live on my own, then I'm fine. But y'all know sometimes I don't do that as much. So it means I'm just going to have to. And I think that's the purpose, is for TikTok to make me go live on my own. So here we go. All right, let me turn this around real quick. All right, so this is, well, hell, where'd it go? Okay, so this is Ballad Health's Form 990, right? And so this is, so I want you to pay attention. Their fiscal year runs from July through June. So this is their fiscal year 2023 that goes from July of 2022 till June of 2023. Okay. And what you can see is their gross receipts are for $73 million. Well, when you go to Mountain States Health Alliance, they also have their own, right? And if I view their filing, this is the same document, but for the other part of their entity. And you can see that this one is the one that has almost $1 billion that they're running out of Mountain States. And then Wellmont also has almost $1 billion that the revenue is running out of there, right? So this is how you see it becomes very difficult to track the money. Now, let me show you this. When you scroll down in here, and like I said, and I am no accountant guru, but I want you to see, this is Alan Levine, who is the CEO of Ballad Health. Okay. He works approximately 64 hours a week, he says, right? And 1 hour a week for somebody else. Okay. He's an officer, and this is his income. Almost $3.6 million a year. And he had another little bonus here of $247,000. So about $4 million is what he got. Eric Deaton, who is the COO, is sitting at about $1.3 million. Marvin Eichhorn, who is an executive VP, who's the CAO. Isn't it interesting how much Marvin gets? He used to be with Mountain States Health Alliance. So Marvin's sitting at about 3.2 million. So one of the things that I look at when I'm looking at these types of numbers, and I see EVPs, CFOs, right? CEOs, VPs. You got more VPs than the law allows these days. and they're all making anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million, right? Like it just somewhere around in those numbers. So when people say, we can't allow for this, or we're having staffing problems, and money is this and money is that, my whole thing is, what are you doing with your money? You're a nonprofit healthcare system. What are you doing with your funds? And I think that that's a question that would be, hey, Denise, this is something that is helpful to you, because can you imagine how many of you all are like me? I'm from a small town, right? I'm from a small town. I'm from a small community. And when you have people in the community that, like, according to Ballad Health, about 70% of their patient volume are people that are on Medicare, Medicaid, or TRICARE. So what does that tell you? That tells you a lot of that community is not financially affluent, right? You are going to be serving a large number of financially challenged individuals. Okay. Now, if that's the case, one of the fastest ways to get people who may be misaligned with you politically on the same team as you is to show them just how much money the rich people are getting and how bad the quality is, the care that you and your loved ones are receiving in return. That is a language that everybody speaks. Whether you are a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, a unaffiliated voter, this is a language that everyone speaks. Everyone understands when really, really rich people are padding their pocketbooks, and poor people, or the average American, is getting shitty or subpar care. It matters, right? It matters. And so one of the things that I want to show you is, I've shown you where to go to find the money. If it is a nonprofit facility, you can go to GuideStar, or you can go to ProPublica's Nonprofit Explorer. That's where I just was. So you can go to GuideStar, right? Or you can go to ProPublica's Nonprofit Explorer, and both of those, you can look up nonprofits' tax returns. Now, this is not just healthcare exclusive. You want to go see what Joel Osteen's church's tax returns look like? Go look up the 990 while he's getting an $8 million PPP loan that he had to give back after they found money in the walls, right? You want to find out what your local churches are doing? If you've got churches in your community and those churches have politicians coming and standing in the pulpits, or their preachers are preaching straight political messaging, that violates that 501c3 status. You follow me? So this is language that anybody can get behind. And it does not matter. It does not matter your political affiliation. This is about the wealthiest of the wealthy, right? Patting their pockets and delivering subpar care, especially in fields that are important to people. So to me, I look at it a little bit differently. If I were sitting around and I was looking right now at, say, Facebook, and Facebook was whatever, I would be like, okay, but we could all live without Facebook. We can't all live without good health care. Is that fair to say? We can't all live, and we can't all have a great quality of life without access to good quality health care. Hey, not so loud, babe. And so it matters when it's not websites. It matters when it's not, social media. It matters when it is your health care. So now that I've shown you where to go to find the money and see who's making that money, and by the way, that ain't the only money the CEO of Ballad Health makes. That joker sits on a board that he's been appointed to by the governor of Tennessee. He sits on boards down in Florida. He's getting checks from a ton of places, just to be clear. And if you really want to know anything about the CEO of Ballad Health, the country's largest state-sanctioned medical monopoly, you can go listen to my podcast episode, right? You can go do that. It's what did I think this one is called The Man Behind the Monopoly, right? That's an episode that I did. But I've also written about him on Substack and on medium.com. Why is that? Because I felt like it's important for people to know that the person that they chose to be the CEO of the country's largest state sanctioned medical monopoly has been an executive. And when I say executive, I mean president, VP, or CEO of 3 different private healthcare organizations before he came to this one. And all 3 of them were found guilty of Medicare, Medicaid fraud in the hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars. So I thought that that was relevant because, if you're going to give the organization antitrust immunity, it's important to know who's leading it, I would think. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that he knew about the fraud or that he committed any fraud. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that, being fair, if I were being interviewed for a job at a bank and every bank I worked for had gotten robbed, I probably would not get the job as the bank manager. Probably not. Whether I knew it or not, people would just be like, you know what? Just too much of a coinky dink. Right? So, Mama Dukes, when you talk about Rick Scott and Alan Levine worked together. Alan Levine went to work for Rick Scott's Columbia HCA. That was the first company that he worked for that was found guilty of $1.7 billion in fraud. It is the largest healthcare fraud in the history of this country. Okay? So, when we keep going through this and when we keep talking about these things, I've shown you where to go to look for the money. So now I want to help you find information that's important to you and your loved ones. Not so loud, Sissy. Okay, baby? Okay. All right. So now I want to show you how to find information that helps you and your loved ones, especially when you are looking for care. Now, before I go into this, I need to say this, and I want you to hear me and hear me clearly. I want you to hear me and hear me clearly. If you have a medical emergency, you are to go to your closest appropriate hospital. Hear me when I say this. I'm going to give you information. What I do not want you to do is take this information and say, well, hell, if I have this going on, I'm not going there. Don't do that. If there is your closest facility, you go to your closest facility, you get stabilized. And once you are stabilized, then you can exercise your patient right and request a transfer somewhere else. But I need to be clear when I say that to people. I do not want you to not go to the closest hospitals for you if you have a medical emergency. You do not play around if you believe you're having a heart attack. You do not play around if you believe you are having a stroke. You do not do that, folks. You have what we call the golden hour of care. You have to get that care within those 60 minutes or you are in trouble. And you want to get care as fast as you possibly can. So I need to say that, and I want to say that so that everyone hears me, and you don't just kind of take this and run off with it. All right. Now, I've talked about this once or twice before on TikTok. I know that my Facebook peeps have heard me talk about this, but I'm going to share it with you again. And then Facebook folks, those of you all that are tuning in specifically about Ballad Health and the information that I got last night, that is coming here in just a second. Okay. And it is specifically around some things that could impact your cost. All right. So repeat what part again, Ronnie, love? Hey, Hudson's grandma. Good morning. What's up, Tina Noel? Hey, facts people. Good to see you. Thank you all for the raid and for the love. I appreciate it. The hospital. I don't know. So what I just said is I'm going to show you where to get this information. Good morning, Tito. What's up, Terry? As I said, good morning, Gums. I want you to make sure that you go to your closest appropriate. I started just as fax was finishing. How about that? There you go. What's up, facts people? Appreciate it. Right, obscured. I can't do that. But so it's okay. For those of you all that are just joining, and thank you, Facts folks, for coming over. I know that Facts has done a great job kind of keeping you all up to date as to what's happening in the Trump raid and the Trump world and Elon and all of that thing. What I'm talking about today is I want to give you some information specifically for you for healthcare. And I don't know how many of you all live in places where you are concerned about your healthcare, where you are concerned about your hospitals, mergers, acquisitions, all of these different types of things, or even the decline in care. That's what I'm here to talk about today and to give you some information. For those of you all who don't know, I'll just give you a little bit of background. Those of you all coming from, yep, I'm going to talk about Medicaid too. So for those of you all who don't know my background when it comes to this, you're married to a physician, you're very concerned, as you should be. What's up, facts people? Thank you all for coming. So I'll just give you this so that you know like where I come from in terms of this information, right? Yep, anything about Medicaid. Medicaid will come up, but I'm also going to talk about 340B pricing. I'm going to talk about, yep, we're going to talk about all of those things. And we're going to talk about how do you track kind of what's happening with your healthcare systems. So like one of the things that before I tell you what I just covered, let me kind of tell you my background. For those of you all that are coming from facts and you don't know me from anything except TikTok. In 2017, my second grandbaby was born, which was a granddaughter, and she was born at 26 weeks. She weighed 1 pound 1 pound 3 ounces at birth. Okay. She was in the neonatal intensive care unit for 91 days. During that time, I became really, really close with the NICU nurses that saved her life and the neonatologist and the respiratory therapist and all of the people that I love and adore. And I'm very grateful for. So fast forward a year, I got contacted by a couple of those nurses. I was doing some of what I do today, right? But I was doing it primarily on Facebook, not really on YouTube. And they had heard that the NICU that saved Bella's life was going to be shut down. And they said, we don't know what to do. So let me just tell you this. What I found out, appreciate you facts for the raid. I really do. So yeah, they are, Kathy. So here's what I found out is that, and you all may not be familiar with this, but it's something called a COPA. It's a certificate of public advantage. It is what politicians and healthcare systems and healthcare corporations are using to change your state law and create state sanctioned medical monopolies that also have antitrust immunity on a state and federal level. So for those of you guys that just came from facts, are any of you all familiar with a COPA? Or a certificate of public advantage? If you're from North Carolina and the Asheville area, you've probably heard about Mission Hospital, and you might know a little bit about it from that. But how many of you all are familiar with it at all? Okay. So for those of you guys that have been in here, I'm going to give you a little bit of background because I want you all to have solid information that will be helpful to you. Okay. So all right. Most states have this great piece of legislation that is called the Hospital Cooperation Act of 1993. Okay. Thanks, Obscured. And so that Hospital Cooperation Act was meant to do really good things. And in its spirit and as it was designed, it was great. So here's what it said. It said, listen, if you have hospitals that are struggling, maybe they are in the inner city, maybe they are in rural communities and small towns. These hospitals were allowed to cooperate so that they could provide quality care and still stay profitable, right? So let's just say instead of your hospital buying a $500,000 MRI, my hospital already has one. You can send your patients to me to get the imaging done, right? You have a state-of-the-art, whatever kind of system. Instead of me buying one, my patients can go there. You follow me? So they could cooperate. What happens with a COPA is very different. In the state of Tennessee and the Commonwealth of Virginia, they used a state legislator to, appreciate you, Bling Chick, to alter that law. And here's what it said. It says that not only you've experienced that, great. So here's what the change was. It said, listen, not only can these hospitals cooperate, and not only can these two healthcare systems cooperate, but under this new law, this amendment to this law, they would be able to merge, become one entity, right? And it actually says this in the law, that they are intentionally displacing competition in exchange for state oversight and giving this new medical monopoly immunity from state and federal antitrust laws. Can you imagine that somewhere the state of Tennessee thought that it was a great idea? Well, it happened in North Carolina, Roni. It's happened in Montana before. It's happened in different places, and that's what the law actually says. It says it is the object right. So what they did is it says the law says we intentionally displace competition in exchange for state oversight, and we give them antitrust immunity. So LAF, in theory, so this one exists in Northeast Tennessee. I see you playing Minecraft, girl. So in the state of Tennessee, it wouldn't matter if they're getting kickbacks. Ask Dominic, because Tutu can't right now. I can when I finish. So Kimmy, follow me. It wouldn't matter. No, ma'am. Because they have immunity, and until you test that immunity in court, you don't know. And so here's the thing. In Tennessee, theoretically, you only have it in Northeast Tennessee because that's where Ballad Health exists. But this is a state law that can be applied throughout the entire state. So if they wanted to do this in West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, wherever, they legally could, because the law already exists, because it is against the law to do legislation specifically for one company or two companies in this case, and say that it can't be done anywhere else in the state. So it had to be a law that was open to the entire state. No, Trace, and I'm not a lawyer. Everybody asks me that. No, I'm not. I just learned a lot very quickly about this. And I've just had many conversations with FTC lawyers and meetings with them about this particular organization, about this thing, and all of it. So no, I just drank from a fire hose and learned really quickly. So when these nurses reached out to me about them closing the NICU, they were like, we don't know what happened, right? We don't know what happened. And so I began to do like a little bit of investigating, and in no short order, here's what I found. I found that the state Senator Rusty Crowe, who sponsored this legislation to create this medical monopoly, is a contracted vendor, a provider to this healthcare system, and has been since 2009. So follow me. The senator that sponsored the legislation to create the medical monopoly is a paid provider, a paid vendor for the healthcare system that he's sponsoring this legislation for to become a medical monopoly. That's what I found out. Crazy, right? And yeah, you would think that it's a conflict of interest, but here's what I will tell you. During the course of our protest, so if you don't, you could literally look this up. If you just Google me, you can Google Danny Cook, Ballad, Ballad Health, and you'll just see a shit ton of information that's out there. But what you will see is that I ended up leading a protest against this medical monopoly. We actually lived outside of one of this healthcare system's hospitals for 257 days, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Okay. So from May 2nd of 2019 till January 13th of 2020, we were out there. And a lot happened during that time. They tried to make me a felon for dead grass on the public right-of-way. They tried to do a ton of things, which is why I know as much as I know about this. Now, I want to be clear, folks, that getting a COPA is not the same thing as consolidating or acquiring or just merging. That's not the same thing as having a COPA. When you go through a COPA, you have to go through an application process through the state. Yeah, Marky, it was no joke. So Ronnie Love, it is in the news, but so I'll tell you this. We struggled for a while to get local and state coverage. Anita Wadwani from the Tennessean was the first person that I got to come to the region and do a story on it. And she did a really great in-depth story that spread. Once it was in the Tennessean, that it was in USA Today, and it was in the Knoxville Sentinel and all of that. There's been stories in NPR, the New York Times, LA Times about their billing practices. So, for example, in their first existence, so I need to share this with you all. This is a region whose poverty rate is 20 to 30%, depending upon what area you're in. Okay, and that's according to Ballad Health. Their region is 20 to 30% in poverty, depending upon where you are in the region. Okay, in its first year of existence, they sued 6,700 people in the region for medical bills. No, Shara, this doesn't have anything to do with Citizens United. Yeah, they sued almost 7,000 people in their first year, knowing that 70% of their patients are on Medicare, Medicaid, or TRICARE, knowing that the region is 20 to 30% in poverty. Yeah, that's what they did. So, and then about a year and a half ago, I got an email from Brett Kalman and Samantha Liss of KFF Health News. So that's the Kaiser Family Foundation Health News. They had gotten a hold of a quality report that I did on Ballad that I'm about to update today. And they thought it was like an official report because I'm pretty thorough when I look up their information. Hey, sweets, and so they emailed me and basically said, "Listen, we've spent the last 2 weeks going over all of the data that you put into this report, and we have found exactly what you found, and we would love to talk to you." And that ended up producing a series of articles that came out over the last year and a half. You will see I'm quoted in a couple of them, but a lot of times I'm just helping provide background or I'm helping provide sources. So if you do KFF Health News, and this is not Kaiser Family Foundation, is not the same thing as the Kaiser Healthcare Organization. They are different. Okay. So anyway, there's a lot happening, but the purpose of today, what I want to share with you all today is two things. How do you find out what's happening with your healthcare in your region? How do you find out what's happening with your nonprofit hospitals? I need people to understand that it is not just for-profit hospitals that are doing it dirty. It is 100% absolutely your nonprofit hospitals that are raking in hand over foot, that are lobbying your legislators, that are paying their executive millions of dollars and not paying taxes. Understand that that is happening with your nonprofit hospitals, and they are paying their 30 vice president positions so much money that they're not paying for your nurses and your techs and your janitorial staff and your food service staff, or even your food service. The quality of your food in your hospitals has gone down. All of those things come into play. Okay. So y'all, TikTok is going to keep bothering me until I do this damn flash goal thing. I really don't. It just says, okay, it went away. Good. Okay. So I'm going to show you all. It went, okay. Do the flash, Brittany. Okay. It's just, it wants 40 people to send a heart me. That's what it wants. 40 different people. I don't like these new goals. Yeah, user 5077, if you are from the region, you know that a lot of people refer to me as Aaron Brockovich. I either got Aaron Brockovich or Olivia Pope all the time. Although those two people are not the same. But I get the sentiment and I appreciate it. But yeah. So when this finishes, I think there's like 15 more people that wants to send a OneCoin heart. Yeah, they're not at all the same thing, but I get it, right? I think it was because I was like, whatever. And I did try very hard, and continue to try very hard. So for those of you guys who are also on TikTok, What's up, Thea? If you look on my TikTok and you see a couple of the pinned videos and you see it when I say, here's what you do when you get 2 minutes before the FTC, that's me speaking about this healthcare organization. Okay. I'm very, I don't know what's going to happen to the FTC now. But I was very hopeful that Chair Khan and the commissioners were going to take some action when it comes to this healthcare monopoly. The challenge exists when you're talking about a COPA in verbiage and the fact that a COPA has never been legally tested in court. Therefore, there's no precedent that has been set. There's no real definition of what super active supervision looks like in real application. And it's crazy, but it's true. Okay. The Federal Trade Commission, Alex, that's the FTC. That's the Federal Trade Commission. So, facts, people, I'm going to share something with you that I already shared with everybody else, just so you know where to go. How many of you all are familiar with a Form 990? 7 people needed in 13 minutes to send that damn heart me thing. What's up, Lisa? How many of you all are familiar with a Form 990? The folks that just joined in. Kelly, yes. Mandarific, you know 990s? Awesome. No LAF, no Terry L. Okay, no Ronnie Love. All right, so a Form 990 is what a nonprofit facility files for their taxes. No matter what industry they're in, if they're a nonprofit, they are filing a Form 990 for their tax returns. There are 2 ways. Thank you guys for hitting the goal. There are 2 ways that you can look at an organization's Form 990. You can go to GuideStar, or you can go to that's why they want 40 different people to do it, Janice. I don't know. Okay, but you can go to GuideStar, or you can go to ProPublica's Nonprofit Explorer, and you can search for organizations to see their Form 990s. And I did that for everybody just a few minutes ago so that you could see. But you can, and I can put the links if you would like in my link tree so that you can go there. When you do, you can actually see how much money they are paying their executives. You can see if it's a hospital, you can see how much they are paying in charity care or if they are not. You can see who are their largest vendors and who are they paying them and what are they paying them. So I'll give you an example. One of the folks that was on the visioning board for Ballad Health, he was also one of their largest vendors for their furniture for the healthcare system, right? So if you're giving me $2.3 million to furnish your hospitals, and then you're going to put me on your board, I'm probably going to be okay with a lot of whatever it is you want to damn do. Right? Just saying. Same thing with the senator who sponsored the legislation. If I'm a provider and a contracted vendor, right? And you want me to sponsor this legislation, and your financial well-being is going to assist my financial well-being because I have a contract with you, I'm probably going to be okay with what you want me to do. So this is what's happened in a lot of places when it comes to not just COPAs, but also healthcare companies and systems. So now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about quality of care. Yeah, you're welcome, Beverly. So I want to talk to you about, now that we know where to go and look about the money, can we go talk about quality of care? And the reason, how does this all tie back to politics, besides the fact that these healthcare companies are some of the largest contributors when it comes to political campaigns, when it comes to lobbying, when it comes to all of that? Besides that, it's important for us to know, with everything that is happening, what's going to go on with our healthcare, with our insurance, with our ability to get care, and what kind of care are we getting? And I said this earlier, and I'm going to say it one more time for you. If you want to communicate in a way that brings everyone together, no matter what political party they belong to, right? I'll tell you this. Here's how you do it. You simply go, hey, listen, did you know that while our healthcare has gone from this to this in terms of quality, the new CEO is making $4 million a year? Especially when you're in a region that the average salary is $45,000 a year. right? When you live in a region like where I'm from and much of the country where the average income is 40 to $50,000 a year, right? Household income is that much. And you start talking about the millions of dollars that the executives are making while they are giving you horrible care, you get people's attention. Yeah, I know, Mama CF. I know. So there was a healthcare article that came out in KFF Health News shortly before they were going to do this COPA in Indiana. And that's what put a halt on it at the time. I'm very familiar with it. Okay. But the reason why this is important, guys, is imagine if you can go in armed with information about your quality of care, about the executives and the money that they're making, and you can tie it to the politicians in your region. What if you could do that? What if you could tie the healthcare, the quality of it or lack thereof, the pay of the executives and the politicians and legislators in your state legislature? What if you can connect those dots? Do you think that that's a powerful argument when it comes to how people vote? And do they show up? Guys, let me tell you something. When we led this healthcare protest, the BMA meeting, which is the equivalent of our city council meeting, was packed. Was packed. That's some of the pictures you'll see if you Google me. But this is how you tie issues and money, right? And executives and real community impact to legislators. This is how you do it. But you can't just do it once. You got to keep doing it. And the key is this. I went home and led this protest, right? What needed to happen was once I left, they needed to pick it up and keep it going. And it is daunting. It is aggravating. It is all of those things, right? But you have to do it and you have to be consistent. One of the things that I can tell you is the ultra rich never get tired of finding ways to make more money, no matter who it costs, no matter who it hurts. That means everyone else can't afford to get tired at exposing what they're doing and protecting each other. We cannot afford to get tired because they don't. They don't get a break. They be on it. So we have to do the same. Okay. Hey, Dom, can you check to see if the groceries are here, babe? All right. So now I want to show you about, and you might want to take a couple of notes and I will put the links in the link tree. I'll create like a little collection in my link tree so that you can go find this. Okay. So how many of you all, and if you're a nurse or a doctor, you probably know this. You're welcome, Royce. But if you're not, you might not know about this. How many of you all have ever used CMS's Hospital Compare? What's up, Donoski? How many of you all have ever used CMS's Hospital Compare? Yes.
Don't make touch it.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll help you. Carol, you have no, never heard of it, Morty? All right, I'm going to help you. I love this mandorific. You moved his feet? Okay, I got it. All right, so I'm going to share this on my screen on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm going to take TikTok and I'm going to turn it around. It is, to be fair, Catherine, I didn't say it was going to be easy. Not yet? Okay. I didn't say it was going to be easy. And this is why we need a team of people, right? This is why we need to have each other's back and stay on top of things. Easy ways to do this, guys. Let me tell you some of the things I do. I have a Google alert set up. Whenever something happens regarding Ballad Health, I get a news alert. Because I can't keep up with everything. I'm just one person. But you can set up news alerts. You can set up Google alerts for certain words. So find your niche. What is your thing? You don't want to get a news alert for every damn thing. And for goodness sake, don't set one up just that says Trump because, oh my gosh, you'll go nuts. But set them up for the things that are really important to you. Set them up, get them sent to you so that you can quickly scan over and decide, is this something that I need to invest my time in or I don't? Right. You did it for your elected reps. Perfect. So those are all things that we can do. Now I'm going to share with you. So Ballad Health is the healthcare system in my hometown area that I'm talking about. So that is why I have it. So LAF, that CMS, if you just go to that CMS website, you'll be like, oh my God, holy shit. I will put the exact link to the page in my link tree in just a second for you. Because if you just go to the regular, it's a government website, so it sucks, y'all. But let me show you what I have, okay? And then I promise you guys, for my Ballad Health folks, I'm getting to you with the information that I really want you to have. So TikTok, I'm going to take down the image and I'm going to turn you around so you can see what I'm talking about. So remember when I said you can see Form 990s to look at pay? This is one of them for Ballad Health, right? This is their Form 990. This is their CEO, Alan Levine. You can see his $3.6 million and his 247, right? 247,000. You can also see it for the other execs that are on here. You can see like a ton of things, how much they're all getting paid, right? Now I want to take you from there over here, which is to the hospital compare. So for you guys, I am going to share hospital compare. Facebook and YouTube, you guys should be able to see it now. All right, now follow this. I'm going to go back to the main page. So this is find and compare providers near you. It is on Medicare.gov, right? But it's this care compare and it's provider type. And I'm specifically looking at hospitals, but you can look at nursing homes and rehab services. You can look at home health services, hospice services, whatever. And this is where you find out how are these folks ranked and how they're doing. And so you can put in the zip code and you can pull it up. All right. Now, I talk to people about this a lot because it matters. Now, for those of you guys back home, I'm going to go ahead and start with Bristol. Y'all, this is my hometown hospital. I'm originally from Bristol, Tennessee, and I want to show you what this means. So, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, this hospital star rating is a 1-star hospital. Now, the question that I immediately have for you is when is the last time you booked a stay at a 1-star hotel? And now I'm really going to blow your socks off. Ballad Health became a legal medical monopoly January 31st of 2018. Do you know what this hospital was in 2017? This hospital was a 4-star hospital before they became a medical monopoly. This was a 4-star hospital, and now they're a 1-star hospital. Crazy, right? Now, I want to show you how to go through this and kind of know what's happening. Right. It's very sad. So you can go into the rating details. All right. Now, I'm going to turn you around for just a second so that I can talk to TikTok while I show you this. Okay. I'm going to look at a couple of measures that are really important. Well, so actually they report every quarter, Dale. They report every quarter. This quarter was a little late. It normally comes out at the end of January. It came out February 19th, and I can show you where I can see that it was updated because I was actually looking and it hadn't updated before. End of March. Yeah, end of January. So see, it updated February 19th of 2025. Okay. Now, let me show you. You can actually go in and access archived data, which I've done and I do regularly, which is like a huge Excel spreadsheet that you have to search through and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to ask you to do that. But this is a quick snapshot for you to see, okay, how are they doing? Now, I want you to also know that those stars can be a little misleading if they are really high, but the patient volume is low. So let's just say, I'm scared, I love raw data. I do only because it helps make the point. Like, I'm not like, the only reason I care about the data is because it provides the foundation and the facts for what I'm telling people. you know? That's why I love the data. But so let me just share this with you all. Appreciate you, Cheryl. So when you go into here and you look at this data, I want you to be clear, because sometimes you'll see, and I'll show you one here in just a second, you'll see a hospital that is 4 stars, right? But then when you go in, what you see is a lot of the readmission rates and a lot of the unaliving rates. That's my cat, sorry. A lot of the unaliving rates after surgery, you'll see that it says not applicable. And it's because they don't have enough patients getting those procedures done there for it to matter for them to be able to rate them. So you'll see that. So don't just say, oh, well, this one's 4 star. You got to dig a little deeper to make sure that what you're looking at is relevant. So for those of you guys that are on YouTube and TikTok, you can see this, and I'm going to show it to you. So the first thing that I'm going to look at is timely and effective care. And there's a couple of things that I automatically look at. I look at this one, sepsis care. And the reason why is it's the percentage of patients who received appropriate care for severe sepsis and or septic shock. Everyone should be interested in this metric, because guess what? CMS does. Yes, they provide the data. CMS does. Everybody knows that sepsis and septic shock can unalive you, right? And so you see here where it says higher percentages are better. The national average is 62%. The Tennessee average is 59%. Theirs is 61%. Cool. They're right around the national average. No problem. Now here's where, Mila, chill. So now we're going to go to the scary one, which is this. Okay. So when I look at complications and unalivings, I immediately go here. And the reason I go here is this is unaliving among patients with serious but treatable complications after surgery. So I want to know how many people had serious complications that were treatable and how many of them unalived. Okay, well, the national rate is 176.55. See that? Their rate is 210.98. So about a 50-point difference. It matters, right? So now you want to go down to infections. Now this is a really easy way that a hospital organization can kind of pick up their stats. Is when they focus on infection. But even here, you'll see infection-wise, they're doing pretty decent. But now when you go here, this is your unaliving rates. This is for COPD, this is for heart attack, this is for heart failure, this is for pneumonia, and this one is for stroke. These are unaliving rates. So watch, I wanted to show you the ones that I was very concerned about this particular hospital. Their unaliving rate for heart attacks is 15.3%. The national result is 12.6%. For heart failure, their rate is 16.5%. The national result is 11.9%. Their rate for pneumonia is 23.6%. The national result is 17.9%. So I want you to understand that when you go to this hospital for pneumonia and you are an inpatient there, almost 1 out of 4 patients unalive within 30 days. That's what this unaliving rate means, that you unalive within 30 days after discharge. Almost 1 in 4. For stroke patients, 13.9, 13.9, fine, right? So this is how you go and you find information so that you know what is happening in your hospitals where you live. Now, I said this at the beginning, and I need to make sure that I say it again because new people have joined. When I share with you information and when you look up information on your own, I need for you to understand one thing. I know that this information can be scary and alarming. And at the same time, if you believe that you are having a serious medical event like a heart attack or a stroke, you must go to your closest hospital facility. Do not go, oh, their hospital sucks. I'm not going there. I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to drive an hour and a half away. Do not do that, people. You must go to your closest hospital because you have that 60 minutes, what they call the golden hour of care, where you need to be treated. You go to your nearest hospital, you get stabilized, and then you use your patient rights and you request to be transferred somewhere else. Got it? Got it? Thank you for subscribing, WTF. Now, another thing that they pay attention to is something called readmission rates. So what does it mean with a readmission rate? I'm going to put you guys back up here for just a second. Okay. Oh, you don't need to see my plant or my bookcase. Sorry, guys. Okay. So a readmission rate means that you are readmitted within 30 days of being discharged from a hospital. That's what a readmission rate is. Okay. Now, so WTF, I'm on the Hospital Compare website. That's what I was sharing with people, and I'm going to put it all in the link tree when I'm done. Okay. Now, yeah, Thea, a lot. All right. So let me just share this with you. So when we talk about readmission rates, a readmission rate is when you are discharged from the hospital and you are readmitted back into the hospital within 30 days. Now, why does this matter if you have Medicare, Medicaid, or TRICARE? It matters because they will not pay if you are readmitted within 30 days for the same condition. Ugh. They're like, nah, you should have got it right the first time you had this patient. Okay? Mila, no, ma'am. That's because she knows I'm working, right, Candy Kiss? And I'm sitting in the floor. So CMS sits back and they say, yeah, no, we're not right. It has to be a new condition. So, right, monopolies aren't good at all, and they're horrible when it comes to healthcare. So when you look at this hospital's readmission rates, their overall rate of readmission is 15.7%. The national result is 14.6. But then they do it by medical condition, right? So their readmission rate for heart failure patients is 23.7%. Okay? Their readmission rate for pneumonia patients is 18.5%. Right? So these are the things that you want to start paying attention to when you are looking at, yeah, that's a lot. Thanks, Red Hot. I appreciate it. So what I do when I'm putting together Ballad's information, because that's the one that I track all the time. Texas, no, they do not. Yeah, Texas, they do not. But hey, stop. So WTF, let me say this. I don't give people medical advice at all, especially when it comes to what is quote unquote the best. And the reason why I don't is that's dangerous. You don't know what everyone's healthcare prognosis is or what all the factors are. I'm not a doctor. I would never tell people that. What I can tell you is that we live in a very, very different society than we used to. Right? So are natural remedies great? Sure. And while I would say this, when natural remedies were the most effective, our food wasn't processed. Our food didn't have so many different chemicals and contaminants and pesticides and things like that. We put a ton of unnatural things in our body, which makes it harder and more difficult for natural things to work. So what I share with people is this: you need to consult with your physician about what is best for your care, and whatever your intuition or guidance says, right? I'm not going to tell you what's the best for you because I'm not a doctor. I think that there's a place for both things to exist. There's a place for natural and Western medicine to exist to achieve the outcome that you desire. Okay. the things that I look at are I automatically look at infection rates. I look at unalivings after surgery when people have serious but treatable complications. I look at unaliving rates, readmission rates, and I also look to see out of the patients that are screened, how many of them get the flu vaccine. Why do I do that? Because we know that we have a lot of unalivings from flu every single year. That hospital that we were just looking at, only 22% of the folks get a flu vaccine. At their other hospital, which is Johnson City Medical Center, which is their flagship hospital, it's only 37%. Now, I will tell you this, Johnson City Medical Center is also a one-star hospital. Again, they used to be a three-star hospital prior to this COPA, prior to this merger. Now, check this out. The percentage of patients who receive appropriate care for severe sepsis or septic shock at Johnson City Medical Center is only 43%. The rate of unalivings for serious but treatable complications following surgeries is 224.58. The national rate is 176.55. So national rate, 176. Johnson City Medical Center's rate, 224. Big difference, right? The rate of infection at the surgical site following colon surgery, their rate of infection is 2.379. The national standard is 1.000. Scary things for them, their unaliving rate for pneumonia is 22%. So again, 1 in every 4, 1 in every 5 patients that unalive within 30 days of being admitted to their hospital for pneumonia, unalive. So this is where you go to get that information. And again, I want you to tie it all together. This is the part that gets really important, is being able to tie together the quality of care, the pay of your executives, okay? And in addition to that, the lobbying that they do for your legislature, which you can also see on your Form 990s, all of those things tie together. Now, I want to talk a little bit about 340B pricing, which is a concern that I have with all of the changes that are happening at CMS. So, how many of you all know about 340B pricing and what it is? Hallie does? Nope. Okay. So 340B pricing, and I'm not an expert. I will give you what I know. Okay. 340B pricing is, yep, you got it, Janice. 340B. That is the rate. Mila, calm down, babe. Calm down. That is the amount that you pay wholesale cost to the pharmaceutical company if you're a hospital or a doctor or a pharmacy, right? That's the rate of your pricing. And different hospitals are classified different ways to determine whether or not you get 340B pricing. You might get it because you are what they refer to as a, hold on a second, and I'll tell you, because I like to tell you the exact name, a DSH. So that is a disproportionate share hospital. If your hospital is classified as a DSH hospital, then you may qualify for 340B pricing. And what that means is you serve a significantly disproportionate number of low-income Medicare patients, and you get additional Medicare payments to cover the cost of providing to them. That's one of the definitions of a DHS. And by the way, that definition is defined in Section 1886, 5F of the Social Security Act. Okay. I can't tell you if it's going away now, not really here, because I mean, it is defined by law. Is it going to be impacted by, yeah. Well, so you can actually see when it's updated, honey. So like for example, I'm on the HRSA website right now, and you can actually see when it has been updated and when it has not. Right? So I'm going to show you based on the hospitals that I'm particularly looking up, and I'll show you. So I'm looking up Johnston Memorial Hospital back home in Tennessee, right? When you want to look up and see if your hospital still has, and for those of you guys back home, this is the part that I wanted you all to know about because it impacts Johnston Memorial in Abingdon, and it also impacts Holston Valley Medical Center in Kingsport, Tennessee. Yeah, I know what they're actively trying to dismantle, but here's the thing. There's a difference between dismantling the operational ability of those entities. That was weird. Here, please. That there's a difference between changing the operational ways that they're being done and changing the law, right? Because some of these things, go sit over here, please. These things are outlined by law. And unless they change law, they still exist. But the Trump administration can do harm, right? By changing the administration and the way it functions. Now, what does that mean? It gives us hope that if you get other people running it again, then you can bring it back because the law hasn't changed. So that's the importance, is understanding there's two ways for them to negatively impact the Social Security office, the Medicaid office, Medicare, all of that. It's by the people that are running it from an executive perspective and whether or not they're actually changing the law. Mila Ann, right? So SB Unique, I haven't, but let me show you all this piece really quickly. So for those of you all back home, I really wanted you to understand what happened with Johnston Memorial Hospital and Holston Valley Medical Center. And the reason why is because not only can you see if their 340B pricing is active, because they have to recertify, you can actually see why, if it was terminated, it was terminated. And you can see the dates for all of it. So let me show you. So don't predictive. All right, YouTube and Facebook. I'm going to share my screen with you because I want you to be able to see what I'm seeing. All right, so I just typed in Holston Valley Medical Center. And when I show this to you, and I will show it to you, right? Let me show you guys too. I'm going to take this down. And now I'm going to turn my screen around. Mila, that's your alarm. You need to go. Okay, so look. So Holston Valley Medical Center, Holston Valley Hospital in Kingsport, Tennessee, their 340B pricing is terminated. Now you can look over here and you can find out why it was terminated. Because their DSH percentage is below the statutory minimum. So there is a statutory minimum that is either 11.25% or 8%. That says this is the percentage of low income individuals that are on Medicare that you have to be servicing. And if that falls below the minimum, then you can be terminated, right? So watch this. When I went to their history, because I wanted to see, here's what I found, is they were recertified on September the 1st of 2023. And then they were scheduled, their value after it, it was supposed to terminate. They had a year later. Okay. But then there was a termination request, a termination reason. And then it shows you they fell below the minimum. And so this happened for the first time in November. And then they were actually terminated on January 1st. This is not for profit. This is a nonprofit hospital, y'all. I need for y'all to understand. Nonprofit hospitals are just as dangerous as for-profit hospitals, and sometimes more so. So Holston Valley Medical Center does not have 340B pricing, and neither does Johnston Memorial. Johnston Memorial does not have 340B pricing. So what does that mean?
I did it.
You did it? Good girl. Okay, hold on. Hold on, y'all. I got to put you one sub needed in the subwave. Yep, we got a minute left to get another sub. Hold on, guys. Oops. Hold on, sissy. Are you in my screen? Guys, is Mila in my screen? Jesus Christ, I can't see. No. Oh my God, I hope not. Mila, stay right there because you will get me in trouble. No, I was looking to make sure she wasn't on Facebook and TikTok either. Facebook and YouTube, I meant. Okay, so, all right. So when it shows you that they're terminated, you can see why they've been terminated. And so what I did was do the same thing. Thank you, Linda, for that. I appreciate it. Is I went and looked at their history too for Johnston Memorial. Same thing. They fell below the DSH percentage below statutory minimum. They fell below the statutory minimum. And so here's the difference. At Holston Valley, their percentage was 8% because they were classified as a rural health system for a rural hospital. For Johnston Memorial, it fell below 11.75%, not 11.25, but 11.75%, which is their disproportionate share hospital. So remember when I just told you, John, pay attention. I just told y'all what DSH stands for. It stands for disproportionate share hospital. And what that means is they treat a higher percentage of low income individuals that are on Medicare. So when that percentage falls below the required amount, they no longer get the discount. Now, some of you all, thanks, not really here. I appreciate that. So let me just say this to you guys, really, because this is important. I'm going to put you back up here, TikTok. You might think, well, what does that mean? And why should I care? I'm going to tell you why you should care if you're going to Holston Valley Medical Center, or if you're going to Johnston Memorial, or if you're going to any hospital that doesn't have it. If you go to the American Hospital Association's website, you can find a whole thing about 340B pricing, just quick facts and answers. And it tells you 340B party favor pricing program is a small program with big benefits for underserved patients and communities, right? It increasing, it says it remains a critical resource to treating healthier communities. It expands access to support a variety of patients and programs, right? Hey, Haley, I'm going to put it in the link tree as soon as I'm done. Guys, when I'm done, I will have a little section on my link tree. My link tree is in my profile. I will put the Hospital Compare website there. I will put the ProPublica nonprofit website there so that you can search. If you have a nonprofit hospital or healthcare system, I'm going to put that link there so you can see what their executives are getting paid and what they're doing with their money and all of that. And I'm going to put in the Hospital Compare. I think I said that. And then I will also put in the HRSA site so that you can search for 340B pricing and the link to this document. And it will all be in one little collection with 4 links in it. Okay. The reason I don't do it when I'm live is because what people do is they go, oh, let me go look at it. And then they miss everything that I'm saying. And then they go and they read information and they may not know, and they may miss important things. Like, I want everyone to hear me when I say, don't just look at your compare score and go, oh, this is a 1-star hospital. I won't go there even if I'm having a heart attack. No, don't do that. Take your ass to the closest hospital. And once you are stabilized, then request to be transferred somewhere else. Because it is important that you get care as soon as possible when it's a medical emergency. Got it? So that's why I want people to know that. The thing that is important, whether it's because somebody requested to get rid of their 340B pricing, whether it's, you got to wonder, okay, so here's one of the things that we know, right? Then the homework. Thank you, Ballerina. So check this out. What we know about Ballad Health is that they have been pushing a lot of their patients to certain hospitals like Bristol Regional and Johnson City Medical Center. We know that, right? We know that we have lost services at other hospitals. We know that services have been relocated and streamlined, and they've been pushing people to this hospital. We have to ask, now that they're doing that, have these other hospitals lost that 340B pricing because those people are going to those other hospitals, and now those hospitals aren't getting the same volume to meet that requirement to get that discount? So what does that mean? That means that anybody that is still going to those hospitals, that you're not getting discounted. If the discount that Ballad Health was getting was being passed on to patients, it ain't there now. So the outcome is this: no matter why the 340B pricing no longer exists at Johnston Memorial or Holston Valley Medical, no matter why, it's not a good thing for patients. That's what we know. And you might say, well, then it's not a good thing for the hospital. True, unless you exist under a COPA and you can go to the state of Tennessee or the Commonwealth of Virginia and say, we lost our 340B status, and that's why we didn't have the money to do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, and get yourself out of other financial commitments that you had. You have to ask yourself, and I'm not saying that that's what anybody did. All I'm saying is, if there was a benefit for the healthcare system, what could that be? So, those are the takeaways. So, here's what I want you to leave this live able to do. I want you to be able to leave this live, go to my link tree, access CMS's it's a problem either way, right? But it's a problem for the patient if those savings are not there. Because if those savings were there and they were getting passed on to the patient, and then the healthcare system no longer gets them, the patient no longer gets them, right? But this particular healthcare system exists under a COPA. Right. So when you don't have that and you have a contract with the state, you can absolutely use it as an excuse to not meet other financial obligations that you have for the ability to be a medical monopoly. And that's the difference between a regular healthcare system and a healthcare system that is operating under a COPA, which is what I covered at the beginning. Now, if you weren't here at the beginning of this live and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about with a COPA, here's what I would say to you. You can 100% go to my Substack or my medium.com or my podcast and even my TikTok. I have some TikToks that says what happens when your state creates a medical monopoly. And I outlined for you and explained to you what a COPA is, how it's created by your state legislature, how it is horrible for your community, what often has in every COPA that we have ever seen in the United States of America. Here's what we have seen as a result. We have seen higher prices and lower quality. That's what we've seen in every single one of them. So you might want to ask yourself, why would your state legislators be advocating for one? In our case, our state legislator had a contract with the healthcare system. So the more money they made, the more money they had to pay him. His livelihood was tied to them. So you would know. So listen, a COPA is a statewide piece of legislation. Now, in addition to COPAs, yes, that's correct, Reg. So in addition to COPAs, you have lots of different mergers and acquisitions that are happening in healthcare, and it's a problem. And it's a problem. Let me just tell you that, right? So what I will tell you, Mimi, is that what I know has happened to at least one physician. What I know has happened is when he pissed off the healthcare system, and he was on call. What they did was they gave the they gave their physician the patients that had great insurance, and they gave him the indigent patients. And that's according to what he told me. And he's a reliable source that I've known for years and years and years and years. That's what I will tell you. Yes, they do have to verify. Yeah, there's lots of ways for healthcare systems to hold your doctors hostage. There's lots of ways. You got to remember that if you have a physician and they want privileges to your hospital, that's controlled by the healthcare system. I can tell you that, for example, back home, gastroenterology associates, they don't have privileges to Bristol Regional. They literally, their offices are on the same damn street, like on the same block. And when my mom was in the hospital, her gastroenterologist, who was like overseeing her, who did her surgery, could not come to see her in the hospital because Ballad and them didn't agree, and because they wouldn't cater to Ballad. Ballad said, well, you don't get your privileges at our hospital unless you do this. And they said, well, no, we're not doing that. And so now what happens when those patients go to a Ballad Health hospital? They now have to see providers that know none of their history, even though the providers that know their history are sitting on the damn same block. That's a thing. Because Virginia did the same thing. So the Commonwealth of Virginia. So let me just be clear. In Tennessee, Senator Rusty Crowe is who did the legislation. In Virginia, it was Terry Kilgore. It was Delegate Terry Kilgore. Alexis, this is a nonprofit healthcare system. I need y'all to understand that nonprofit does not equal good. Nonprofit just equals tax exempt. They still shady, they still dirty. And nonprofit does not mean they don't make profit. They make hella profit. Hella profit. Oh, everything that I'm talking about, the healthcare system I'm talking about, is a non-profit healthcare system. Because nobody runs against him, Brandy. Because the Kilgores pretty much, quote unquote, own Southwest Virginia. Him and his brother. So I want you to be able to leave this live. I want you to be able to go to my link tree, look up your hospital, see its score. You want to look at the overall star rating. I want you to look at infection rates. I want you to look at unaliving rates, and I want you to look at readmission rates. Those three things are critical, okay? Then I want you to be able to look up your facilities Form 990. If they are a nonprofit hospital healthcare system, they file a Form 990. You can access that either using GuideStar or ProPublica. I tend to check both because sometimes one may have a delay while the other one already has it up. I check both. Okay. Then you can see just how much those damn execs are being paid. I'm going to put all the links, Mike, in my link tree. Okay. So I want you to be able to look at the hospital's quality scores. I want you to be able to look at the pay, right? And you can even look at who their vendors are, all of that. And then I want you to be able to look at their 340B to see if they have it or if they don't, right? Which is on the HRSA website. And was there one more page? Oh, yes. And then I want you to go to the American Hospital Association page to read up on the benefits of 340B pricing. Understand that changes to Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security legislation, even all of those things impact your healthcare industry tremendously, greatly. Okay? This is how you have conversations with the people in your neighborhood. Which website? I just named 4. I'm going to give all of them in the link tree, DB. When I get off of here, you will be able to go either on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok to my profile and click my link tree, and it will all be there in a box together. I have a very extensive link tree. Okay. But this is important because you can use this information and you're going to talk about politics without talking about political parties and specific people. We're going to talk about what's actually happening, what these people are getting paid, who are they lobbying? Who are they donating to? Do you know what I did? I went to the campaign donations for our state legislatures, and I looked up all the executives at Ballad Health, and I looked up the campaign contributions to see who was giving money. And you know what I found? I found that many times, you would see about 7 to 10 of the same executives that were making $500,000 to $4 million, that they would all be donating the same like $1,000 to $4,000 to the same candidate within 2 weeks of each other. Sometimes, many times on the same damn day. But call me, I don't know, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me crazy, but I think it's a bit of a coinky dink for 7 or 8 people in the same company to donate within the same week to the same candidate. Now, I can tell you that I've been told that they were told to donate, but I can't prove that. I can just say that allegedly upper management said they were told to do such a thing, but I can't tell you that. I can't prove it, right? I just can tell you the appearance of it looks questionable, right? I don't know why I puffed my hair up, but I did. So, those are things you can do. And I will tell you, people will get pissed when they find out somebody is making 2, 3, 4, $5 million, right? Depends on whether it's state or congressional. It depends on whether it's state or federal. How much they are limited to. Okay? But that's how you tie it all together. Have you ever, and I'm going to leave y'all with this one piece. Have you ever looked at, in the state of Tennessee, it's called a Form SS 8005, I believe. Have you all ever looked at an SS 8004 or 8005 in Tennessee? Let me see what it is. Oh, I could put the SS. Yes, this is it. So in Tennessee, it's an SS-8004 and there's an SS 8005. Do you know what those are? So if you have never gone to your state legislature or your congressperson's their own filings and looked at their statement of disclosure of interest, please do that. Please do that. Go look at their statement of disclosures of interest. You will see who they're working for, where their income comes from. And sometimes you can see like straight up places where you're just like, get the fuck out of here. Really? Oh, I see it, Linda. The reason I wasn't is because I'm getting ready to go. But for folks back home, yeah, Mary Shaw, I got time for one question. Folks back home, here's what I want you to know. Okay, folks back home, Holston Valley Medical Center and Johnson Memorial no longer have 340B pricing according to the HRSA website. It was terminated January of 2025. This has happened in the past before, and they have gotten it back after 5 months or so. So I don't know if this is something where they'll shift something in terms of patient volume and get it back. I don't know. What I can tell you is they don't have it currently right now. I can also tell you with absolute confidence that ETSU Cardiovascular has merged with Ballad Health's Cardiovascular. The reason why I think that's alarming is because that is one of the COPA requirements that Ballad is supposed to have special permission from the Department of Health when it comes to cardiology. There is absolutely nothing on the Tennessee Department of websites, on their website for COPA announcements or official COPA communication at all to indicate that they have requested or been granted this exclusion to the COPA terms, because ETSU Physicians / MEAC is one of their top 2 competitors. So that should be concerning for folks, and we should want to know what happened. I have one other thing that I've been told, but I can't confirm, and so I'm not sharing just yet. Actually, 2 things. Actually, 2. So I just wanted to let y'all know that. All right, Mary Shaw, you had a question.
Yes, I am meeting with my district manager for my congressman tomorrow. I was able to get a meeting. They didn't respond to any of my emails, so I did call and request a meeting, and I got one.
Yeah.
Not with the congressman, of course, with his district manager.
Yep.
So Do you have any advice for me? I mean, I really want to hit on healthcare in
Mhm.
Arkansas, you know,
Mhm.
and Medicaid. If they cut Medicaid, what's going to happen? And they
Yep.
cut Social Security, what's the backup plan?
Yep.
Those kinds of things.
So
But anything else that I should take with me, or
I would make it focused because different people are going to want to know different things. So I would figure, like, what are your main concerns? I would make it focused. I would find out how much your state is getting in those types of benefits. How many people in your state will this impact and affect? What's their backup plan? Like those types of things. I would also look to see how many hospitals that Arkansas has that are especially rural hospitals that are in danger of being closed. Like, that's a whole nother website. I could do a whole nother live on rural hospital closures. Because there's a whole website and a spreadsheet that I was putting together to be able to show you kind of what their operating levels are and how many are in danger of closing. It's a large amount. Let me just see really quickly if I can pull this up for you. Is this my? Yep, I think it is. Whoop, whoop. Look at me pulling up shit. Okay, so at the University of North Carolina, they have it's a research program, which God knows what will happen if they don't have funding for it, but it's from the Cecil G. Sheps Center for Health Services Research. And so they have been looking at rural hospital closures since 2005. And there's a whole map and a whole bunch of closures, but there's also this great database that you can access. Let me do this. How about this? I can do another live specifically on hospital closures. And we can talk about that. And I can, so let me see if I can show you. Can I undo that one? Can I undo it? Thank you. So this is data for download. And sorry, guys, give me 1 second. So, because there's been almost 200 of them that have closed, you guys, just in case you didn't know.
doesn't surprise me in the least.
Right. And they do closures by like whether they're rural hospitals, they do all kinds of things. So let me see if I can find, I don't want the map. I actually just want the full on database. Let me see if I can open it this way. You okay, Sissy? Mila? Mila? Are you good, Sissy? She doesn't feel good. She's starting to not feel good after Dom. But here, just let me show you really quick. So like this is kind of what the map looks like in terms of rural hospital closures. And then like if I operate, this is the data and I'll put the link, but so it was just updated January of this year. These are all hospital closures. And so what I can do is I'll put it in here and I will sort it for you by state so that you guys can access it. Because sometimes it's really, really impactful when you walk in and you're armed with data that they don't expect for you to know. So when is your meeting?
Tomorrow at 2:00.
Tomorrow at 2. Okay. So I will do that. You're Arkansas, right? Okay.
Yes.
So as soon as I get off,
quite a bit of data. I did quite a bit of research already.
okay.
I did use the March of Dimes website for, we have Arkansas has an F in healthcare.
Yep.
And then I also looked up all the funding UAMS, which is the big university hospital where I work, and they get millions of dollars in federal funding.
And how much they're going to lose.
So,
yes.
And how much they lose. And then it's like almost 25% of Arkansas is on Medicaid.
Yep.
In one form or another.
Perfect. You're going in with the right info, but you want to know, okay, so what are my specific asks that I have? First, what's their position? Do they support these changes? If they say no, what are they doing? Right? So if you don't support them, how have you been voting? And I would look up their voting record. Are they voting for all these things with Trump? How did they vote when it came to, I don't know if it's Senate or not, but how did they vote when it came to like RFK's confirmation? How, you know what I mean? Those are the questions, and it would not be, oh, we don't support it. Oh, really? Okay, so what are you doing against it? What's the game plan? Like, are you able to stand up? Like those types of things. Yeah. And then looking at your hospitals that are close to closure, that's always impactful. But yeah, data is the way to go. And then make it about money, Mary. Make it about money when you can lay out for them how much money their state is going to lose, and those specific hospitals, those people, those whatever, that's what I would do. And I would find, okay, so whatever percent you said is on Medicaid, how many people is that? How many of those people, are registered voters? And translate it, money and voters. Those would be the way that I would hit them. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Great job. Love it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, hon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So folks, listen, this is the way you want to use the information. You want to use the information, viral, Linda, and in there snotty, and he's got fluid on his ears and all that sort of stuff. So, and Miss Mila is now kind of snotty like him as well. So I gave her medicine today as well. Thanks, Mammon. So listen, these are the conversations. It's not about Trump and Elon. The conversations are what's actually happening in your local community, with your local healthcare, with your local constituents, that's the conversation, and tie it to money, right? And voters. And these are the conversations that you have in your circles of influence. Remember how we can do another live because we haven't done one in a while, and maybe I need to do it on a training, but remember when we talked about being able to look at your maternal vulnerability deserts and how many hospitals and how many counties in your state don't have a hospital that has OB care or a birthing center? Those numbers are going to grow astronomically with these changes. So we can tie all of those things together. So maybe I'll set up another training for next week specifically around those things. Okay? Because that's a whole nother gamut of information. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to get my groceries in because they've been delivered. I'm going to check on my girl here who appears to have fallen asleep. I'm going to make sure Dominic has lunch. I will be back later. Big things. I will put all of those links in the link tree so that you have them and you can access them. You're welcome, DP. Remember, folks, the way that we do the work is by focusing on the things that we can control, which is us, and the areas that we can influence, which is our family, our friends, our circles, our social media, all of those places. That's where we got to focus, people. Okay. Stacy, you just got in. I know, girl, because I'm getting ready to go. I appreciate you all very, very much. I hope this information was beneficial to you. I really, really do. YouTube, Facebook, thanks for joining. TikTok as well. What time later? About what time? It's a good thing you said about, because my life be life. And what is today? Today is Wednesday. I have therapy. I would say about 8 o'clock tonight. What's up, Ja? 8 o'clock tonight is when I expect to be on. Oh, and next Wednesday, I will have Joe Sudbay on my podcast, which will be streaming live. It will be next Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will share all of that information. Yep. I am on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Blue Sky, Substack, all of them. I am at The Danny Cook. The podcast is The Danny Cook Show. And that's it. Okay. I appreciate you all very, very much. And I will holler at you later. Peace.